Some people feel most alive in the quiet corners of their own homes. They don't crave the noise of crowded streets or the attention of strangers. Instead, they find comfort in familiar walls and the sound of stillness. To outsiders, they might look like someone who avoids life, but they are participating in life just differently. These individuals are not running away from the world. They are running toward peace. There is a psychology behind this preference. Research suggests that people who love staying at home often have highly active internal worlds. Their imaginations, their ideas, their emotions, all of it is vivid. Inside their minds, there is movement, depth, and meaning. Home is not a hiding place. It's a sanctuary where all of that can breathe. Psychologists sometimes call this high internal self-presence, the ability to feel more connected to one's inner world than the outer one. These people don't need loud excitement to feel joy. They can stare at a window, sip a warm drink, and experience a kind of fulfillment that others chase in distant places. Their hearts don't beat faster in crowds. They beat steadier in silence. But here's the interesting part. It wasn't always this way. Many of them once tried to fit into the rushing world. They tried matching the energy of friends who loved parties or adventure or constant movement. And somewhere along the way, they realized something. Their calm wasn't a flaw. Their desire for solitude wasn't a weakness. It was just who they were. I remember the first time I understood this. I thought that constantly staying home would make me feel left out or lonely. But instead, I felt understood by the space around me. I realized I didn't need noise to feel alive. I didn't need everyone's eyes to feel seen. I began to value the sound of turning pages more than the sound of applause. That's when I understood. Peace is also a way of living. Staying home does not mean being alone. Sometimes it means being with yourself and truly listening. And that is something the busy world often forgets to do. There is a unique trait shared by many people who prefer staying home: introspection. They think deeply. Every small moment can become a story, every memory a lesson. They feel emotions fully. Joy becomes rich. Sadness becomes art. Hope becomes direction. They don't rush through their feelings just to keep up with the pace of others. They take time to understand them. Scientific studies even show that people who enjoy solitude score high in creativity, empathy, and emotional intelligence. Their calm allows them to understand people better, even if they themselves are not always understood. But sometimes the world mislabels them. You're missing out. You should socialize more. Don't you get bored? These words can sting because they imply that homebodies are somehow incomplete. Yet many of life's greatest thinkers, artists, and innovators were homebodies. They didn't always stand in crowds. They stood in their rooms, refining ideas that would change the world. Maybe that's the hidden truth. Silence has its own form of communication. It teaches patience, it teaches observation, and it teaches a kind of strength that doesn't need attention to exist. Still, here's a curiosity. If home feels so safe, what are they protecting themselves from? Sometimes it's overstimulation. People who love staying home can feel deeply affected by noise, chaos, or emotional unpredictability. Their nervous system craves stability, a place where energy can settle instead of constantly react. Home gives them control over their environment, and that control gives them peace. Sometimes it's trust. They give their heart carefully to only a few people, not because they are cold, but because they feel everything so intensely. They know the value of emotional safety, and sometimes it's simply preference, not a fear, not a barrier, not a story of avoidance, just a choice to spend time in a space that feels warm and familiar. They have hobbies that don't require a crowd: reading, gaming, painting, watching their favorite films, building something personal. Joy becomes a quiet ritual instead of a loud celebration. They measure happiness in moments, not events. But here's a secret they rarely say out loud. They love deeply. They care quietly. They notice everything. Because when you remove distractions, the heart learns how to focus. If you are someone who loves staying home, you might have felt misunderstood. You might have questioned whether your personality is something you need to fix. You might have asked yourself if something is wrong because you don't always enjoy loud gatherings. But what if nothing is wrong? What if the world simply needs more people like you? People who listen before speaking. People who think before acting. people who feel before pretending. Let me shift for a moment from talking about them to talking as one of them. I once thought the world would forget me if I stayed in my room too long, but then I noticed something. The world inside my mind was blooming. Thoughts grew like gardens. Ideas kept me awake more than any late-night party ever could. I found meaning in the simplicity of my own space, and slowly I realized, home is not walls. Home is a state of mind. And now, it's time to talk directly to you. Because maybe you are one of these people. Maybe you've always felt a little different. Maybe you enjoy your own company more than the company of crowds, and maybe the world hasn't celebrated that part of you yet. But you know what? Your quiet is powerful. Your silence has depth. Your solitude is a gift, not a burden. And if you stay with me, there is something important still waiting to be said. Because the truth is, the people who love staying home are not avoiding life. They are living it with intention. They don't want to waste words on small talk or time on shallow experiences. They want meaning, authenticity, real connections, even if those connections are few. Psychologists say that people who prefer solitude are often highly self-aware. They can recognize their own emotions with clarity. They understand who they are, what drains them, and what nourishes them. Most people live without knowing these things their entire lives. But the homebodies, they learn early. It doesn't mean they never get lonely. Loneliness and solitude are not the same thing. Solitude is chosen. Loneliness is not. A person can feel lonely even in a crowded room. But solitude gives strength. There are days when staying home can feel like protection, a break from a world that demands too much. And there are days when it feels like freedom, the freedom to just be. Let's go deeper into the psychology behind this preference. Introversion versus energy management. Many assume home-loving people are introverts, but that's not always true. Even extroverts sometimes need the peace of home to recharge. It's less about personality type and more about emotional energy, where it's preserved and where it is drained, trust and vulnerability. They don't open up to everyone. They evaluate whether a person is emotionally safe before letting them into their inner world. Their hearts may appear guarded, but once they love someone, they love with intensity others rarely understand. Complex inner life. Their mind is a studio of imagination. They can turn silence into creativity. They can turn routine into ritual. They don't need a destination. They find purpose in presence, control over environment. They know what triggers anxiety, discomfort, or overstimulation. Home allows them to manage their space, their time, their emotions. But here lies a paradox. Sometimes the reason they love home is because the world once disappointed them. A broken friendship, a trust that was betrayed, a moment when their feelings were too big for others to hold. So they built a space where they didn't have to apologize for who they are. If you've ever chosen to stay home because the outside world felt heavy, you're not alone. You are learning to protect your peace, and that's a form of emotional wisdom. Yet, staying home doesn't mean you don't dream. Your aspirations are not small. They're just internal. You dream of doing something meaningful, something beautiful, something that reflects who you truly are. You don't want 100 people cheering. You want one person who genuinely understands. And maybe you're waiting for the right moment, for the right people, for the world to feel a little softer. Here's something personal, and maybe you'll relate. Home is the one place where you don't fear judgment, where you don't have to perform, where exhaustion melts into comfort. Some days you step to the window and watch life continue outside. Cars rushing, people moving, the noise of urgency everywhere. And you quietly smile because you know the real treasure is inside. Still, the world will always try to convince you otherwise. Society glorifies constant hustle, as if rest is laziness, as if stillness is failure. But the truth is, rest is part of growth. Stillness is part of clarity. Silence is part of understanding. You may be at home more than others, but your life is not paused. You are observing, healing, becoming. And because you feel deeply, you love deeply. Your relationships, even if limited, are authentic. If someone is in your life, they matter. You give them loyalty, gentleness, and attention that most people are too distracted to offer. You notice the small things, the sigh someone hides, the message someone doesn't send, the strength behind someone's silence. You're the kind of person who understands emotions not just through words, but through pauses. And maybe that makes you a rare kind of strength. There is a beautiful quality people overlook. Those who love staying home often have self-companionship. They don't fear their own thoughts. They don't run from their emotions. They can sit with themselves and still feel whole. That is not loneliness. That is self-connection. So let me talk to you directly now, clearly, honestly. You are not strange for loving the comfort of home. You are not unambitious. You are not fragile. You are not missing out on life. You are building a life that doesn't exhaust you. And one day, when the time is right, when the world outside feels a little more aligned with your heart, you will step out. Not because you're forced to, but because you choose to. And that choice will make the outside feel even more beautiful. Until then, drink your warm coffee slowly. Keep discovering the worlds inside your own mind. Keep protecting your peace. Keep loving quietly but deeply. Because the people who love staying home are the ones who make the world feel like home. If this resonated with you, if you've ever felt misunderstood for preferring your own space, leave a comment below and share your experience. You're not alone in this. And if you want more content exploring the psychology behind who we are and why we feel the way we feel, make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. And remember, your quiet matters.